After returning to the Siphon shores after a long while at sea, the brindilisk is often the very first creature that the sailors see wandering across the sands. They were nomadic beetles, never staying in one location for more than a few days, burrowing into the sands to find shelter and feeding on tiny saltwater invertebrates caught in tide pools. Because of their bright, vibrant colors and similar nature, being wanderers just as the Siphon sailors are, the Sifa have always felt a special connection to these creatures, often wearing their red shells as jewelry for good luck. Native to the inner worlds of Mithra, the Fragoros were truly frightening creatures. Resembling mutated praying mantises with fiery red armor and feet and legs like spears, they could vibrate the tendons on their abdomens to produce a powerful shrieking noise, and when in groups, their voices combined together could literally destroy solid objects and even liquefy firelings altogether. In fact, their relationship to the firelings was much like that of the gelfling to the Aratham, and throughout the Age of Division and Age of Power, they frequently clashed and battled for territory. Another one of the most unique creatures in all of Thra, Seedles were massive, gentle creatures with smiling faces, wide jowls, and two small slitted eyes that glowed with earthly light. They held within them the secrets to the very expansion of the endless forest. You see, when they reached adulthood, growing a new forest on their backs, they would assume a prone, motionless position, freezing itself on the landscape as it begins to grow roots. Although this marks the end of its life cycle, Seedles never truly pass away, as their bodies actually become the landscape, digging deep and sprouting an enormous growth of brand new forest. They were populous during the Age of Harmony, but unfortunately were quickly killed off as the darkening began to spread into the Age of Division, hence severely slowing the growth of all forests. Similar to the firebugs, Lunarkin were delicate air-filled creatures with a bulging bulbous body, 2 small eyes, and 4 stumpy legs. Often mistaken for passing clouds when migrating across the lands, they could travel vast distances very quickly, sometimes from the Sprighton Plains all the way to the Crystal Castle in less than a day. For many trine, gelfling scientists have attempted to collect them and to study and utilize their natural buoyancy, but because they are so delicate, they deflate and die as soon as they're captured. One of the only great beasts in Thra that skekMal himself considered to be a formidable opponent, the Rakita, was a huge wolf-like creature with thick impenetrable skin, jagged sharp teeth, and 2 small bat wings, which were more for threatening decoration rather than flight. But they were so cunning and fierce, it hardly mattered. Not only nimble and sly, but incredibly intelligent, they could often be seen executing highly advanced tactical procedures, such as team ambushing or hunting parties that could skillfully raid livestock enclosures. They were even subject to the Skeksis' attempts at domesticating and utilizing their brute strength, but not one would ever submit, fiercely resisting any control and quickly turning on their masters. The Tumbleloth was basically a combination between an otter and a turtle, as it shares traits and appearance with both creatures. These were the very first animals to take over the Crystal Castle upon the Skeksis' disappearance, creating a huge population deep down in the tunnels and catacombs where they would hide valuable objects and move throughout the crowded spaces using bizarre tentacles attached to their shells. Even stranger, if they were to befriend another creature, it would pull its shell apart to reveal its insides, showing that it had nothing to hide. During the ancient rudimentary period of Thra, which was the Age of Innocence, there was one single creature which forced the gelfling tribes to develop more suitable and permanent habitats, and that was the Arduff. Although they may not seem like it, they were actually the apex predators of this time period, frequently hunting gelfling for easy meals, dragging them away from their simple shelters at dusk. They dominated the Crystal Desert, utilizing their sharp features, speedy powerful bodies, and slender razored snouts to hunt endlessly at will. However, by the time of the late Age of Division, they had become creatures of myth. The sigil animal for the Deucin clan, the Deidom, was a six-legged dinosaur-like creature with several large scales lining its back. It utilized these scales to reflect the heat of the burning desert sun and would range in color from translucent red to deep black with tufts of bright white fur. They also had wide, stable hooves that distributed the weight evenly across the sand to prevent it from sinking into the dunes. Although fearsome in appearance, they were in reality quite kind creatures who would gladly give you a ride across the sands for a few sips of water, or even a snout rub. A staple of Drenchen cooking, the fuchsia wart beetle was used to create protein-rich stir-fries to accent a variety of plant-based dishes. Drenchen children were tasked with heading out into the swamp to collect them in the thousands, bringing them straight back to the chefs who were after their plump, meaty abdomens. When not cooking in a pan, they were producing the melodies of the Swamp of Sog, rubbing their hind legs together to create a deep wood lullaby. By far the coolest fish on the planet, the Huium was the sigil animal of the Seafin people. They were silver-gilled fish with glassy metallic scales that sparkled like diamonds as they frequently swam to the surface in large groups, basking in the warmth of the sun. They were called the silver jewels of the Seafin and could range in size from very small to enormous. Some would be too small, needing to be thrown back to continue to grow, while others grew so large that they could snap thick fishing lines and even tip passing ships. Another sigil animal, this time for the Drenchen, the Muskie were small eel-like creatures, and juveniles were often kept as pets and companion animals, forming strong bonds with their friends. Not only unique in appearance, the Muskie had the bizarre ability to literally float through the air, almost swimming across the winds by levitating its body for short periods of time, before they had to return to the waters of the Sog to rejuvenate once again. The most famous Muskie we know belonged to Naya, and was her faithful companion throughout the book series. Decorative and magical fish, the Myri and Kirkid were native to only one location in all of Thra, the single pool which sits at the heart of the Valley of the Mystics. They were completely unknown outside of the valley throughout the first 3 ages of the planet, treasured and appreciated by only the mystics themselves. The Myri had bright yellow and brown scales with a big fan-like fin as its main feature, while the Kirkid had a long, wriggling body and reflective blue scales. After the 3rd age, they were finally introduced into the main waterways of the endless forests and swamps, so that the Gelfling could appreciate their beauty. Found pecking around the woodlands of the endless forest, the Shrew Kill was a 6-eyed bird with short wings, strong legs, and a long, sharp beak. Sadly, these creatures were completely hunted to extinction by the Skeksis in the early Age of Division, but fortunately, their song still lives on. Although generally unremarkable, one of the most fascinating aspects of this bird is its song, which it only sings at the very end of its life. It has been described as a startling lament, a beautifully haunting melody, which signals not only the end of its existence, but a life happily lived. To this day, its song still lives on through Gelfling bards, who incorporate the notes and sounds into their songs. Many animals in the Dark Crystal universe are very similar to our own, and the Swathle is no exception. This camel-like creature was a large 4-legged mammal which roamed around the Crystal Desert. They had long necks, backwards-facing knees, and a short snout which it utilized to seek out water. When water was finally located, it would engorge itself past its limitations, storing large amounts of liquid inside of its hump. Silent and majestic, the Swathle has saved many lives over the ages, as it produces a sweet, glowing milk which has provided sustenance for many countless souls lost in the desert. Found in both the marshes of the Sog and the underground waterways of Grot, the Rushwa was a creature closely resembling a pikefish with hard scales, big reflective green eyes, and two protruding upturned tusks. Hunting in packs, they would utilize their vicious nature to corner prey both in and out of the water. Although not threatening to the Gelfling because of its small size, it was still aggressive enough to provide any daring hand a swift and painful bite.